Hi, I'm Davin from Westward Restaurant in Seattle. Today we're going to discuss some different oysters and how to get in and eat what's inside. First of all, let's start with the hama hama. It comes from the Hood Canal. It has a really nice, softer texture. One of your goals as you're opening the oyster is to keep as much of the liquor inside. The liquor is delicious. It's very essential to a good oyster eating experience. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to find the hinge of the oyster, pop it open, slide the knife in gently to cut the top adductor. So now we're going to move over here to the Treasure Cove oyster. This is one of my personal favorites. It comes from Emerald Acres Shellfish Farm. These are a really beautiful oyster. They have fantastic savory brine followed by some vegetal sweetness and really nice minerality. You can see in there that the mantle is attached to the top. What you want to do is you want to slide the knife straight in, sever the top adductor muscle. The mantle comes down inside the oyster, and you have a perfectly shucked oyster. So we'll move over. Same species again. This is a Cushy Oyster. This is coming from British Columbia. Pop the hinge open. No cuts, nicks in the meat. And there you go for the third oyster. So the next oyster is the Shikoku. The Shikoku is coming from Taylor Shellfish. They use a patented process called tidal tumbling, where they attach buoys to the bags that they grow them in. It causes the oyster to rub against the other oysters, making a smooth shell. There's your Shikoku. Next, we're going to move over to the Olympia. This is the native species. You just have to be a little bit more tender because it's such a smaller oyster. These oysters are very significant for their flavor. They have a lot of minerality and really, really interesting copper notes. The last on the tray here is the Virginica Oyster, or the East Coast Oyster. I'm going to use the patty shucker for this. These oysters are a little bit more difficult to open. You have to exhibit a little bit more force, and you need a longer knife because the adductor muscle is sort of further away. Once you have that adductor muscle completely severed, there you have a beautiful oyster that's ready to eat. The oyster world has a variety of different flavors. I tend to eat an oyster raw without anything first in order to taste all the flavors that it has to offer. You'll get brilliant bitter melon, really nice cucumber, and very subtle minerality that can get washed over when you put additions on. It's important to also chew an oyster. A lot of people take the oyster down and just swallow it right away. The more you chew an oyster, the more you break down the glycogen that the oyster is composed of, and the more it brings those flavors to your palate.